Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. Let's get started with our guest today. Our first question: in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Mira Alden, and I'm a brand strategist with a particular emphasis on visual communications. So I've worked in this industry for about 20 years now. I work in a whole range of service offerings, everything from corporate live meetings and events to small independently owned businesses.
Wow, 20 years. That is a lot of experience. So you
Yes,
obviously know your stuff. Good for
thank
you.
you.
Question number 2: what's the best thing about working with a team?
Well, for me, I feel like you get so much insight and energy from having a team. I do work independently quite a bit, but I work oftentimes in ad hoc teams. So I'm not necessarily overseeing employees on a day-to-day basis, but I'm working with large groups to help motivate them and organize them. I like people personally. I wouldn't want to just work by myself all the time. And there's always some new aspect of my industry that I can learn from other people, some new aspect of what motivates people personally and professionally that allows me to sort of key into how to really get to a place where I can motivate people.
Mm. That's great comments. I share your situation where you work on your own quite a bit, but you
Yes.
like having people around. So I understand that and appreciate
Yes.
that. Question number 3: I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell us your thoughts.
I think that can be true. I think, especially now, we are in the middle of this pandemic and people are working from home and, remote teams are being put together. I've done a lot of that work throughout my career. And I think there are several strategies that can be employed to bring people together. One for me is, when at all possible, to have some type of kickoff meeting to get people on the same page. It's really difficult trying to get everybody up to speed and aligned around a particular business initiative or mission if you don't get people sort of in the quote same room, even if that's virtually. I think also having some shared communication protocols is helpful. I've worked on some projects where things can get away from you and suddenly everybody's texting you on every number that you have. They're emailing you on 6 emails. There's just no sort of hierarchy of the communication channels. And I think that's particularly important at this moment, to let people know these are the expectations, whatever that may be for a particular project, because otherwise we're just inundated with information and we spend all day just trying to respond and not really moving the ball forward.
It was much more reactive that way, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Great comments. Question number 4: what other piece of advice do you have for leaders of teams?
Oh, I was thinking on this question a little bit before this call, and one thing that has really been important for me is trying to get to know my team members. As I said, oftentimes I'm meeting people fresh and we're starting in on a project, but I think that it is very important to invest a little bit of time to learn something about the team member, because in the projects that I've worked on, there's high demand. There's always some sort of velocity and demand from sometimes a third party to meet deadlines and expectations. So if you don't know something about the person you're working with, it becomes really difficult to motivate them. So I try and just have a little bit of friendly banter to understand sort of what their role is, how they see themselves as a contributor, perhaps what new skills they are trying to develop. So that I can make sure that I give people an opportunity to try those things. So it's sort of a twofold aspect. One is they're aligned around the mission of that particular project. The other is that they have their own personal goals and desires and needs. So if I can determine what those are quickly, then I can key into those and pull out that information as needed to really keep things moving forward.
That is such great advice, because it is so critical that we help people connect their individual interests, passions, whatever it may be, with that mission, that alignment that you talked about,
Yes.
but also that you get to know them on a personal level. That just means so much more, and they want to give more when you take that.
Yeah, and it's genuine. I mean, I like to mentor people, so I like to find out. I'm a person who likes new challenges, and I like to try new things. And so when I'm in a new project, I look for those opportunities. And so when I can do that with a team member, I'll always try and align those goals.
Great advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question number 5. What other successful leaders of teams would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
Yes. Again, I was thinking about this in context of the time during which we're speaking. With this pandemic, as you know, so many people are struggling with their businesses, with their, if they were employees, they've been laid off. And one particular aspect of my work is I try and work with either women-owned businesses or business that try to focus on the advancement of women in the workplace. So I've been thinking a lot about the women who have been stepping up and leading both their businesses, their teams within a corporate setting, but also they're really leading on the home front. So, many women have children that they're looking after who are now being homeschooled. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to all the women who are really doing a lot of double duty here. There was a statistic that 2 million women have left the workforce during this pandemic. And because of, either being laid off or because of the demands at home. So they're really leading on several fronts. So I didn't want to call out anybody specifically, but I think that it is very important to support women in the workplace, and especially during this time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for recognizing all those great women out there who are, as you pointed out, doing double duty and
Absolutely.
Have been adversely affected and disproportionately affected by the pandemic. I saw the same article, but I saw a headline that suggested the same thing, that women are really being hammered because of this pandemic.
They really are, and they some people are predicting that the repercussions in the workplace could last as much as a generation. So it will be very important for all businesses to recognize what has been happening and to make sure that women are supported as they either start their own businesses or re-enter the workforce. To really, we have made so many gains in the past several generations. We just don't want to lose ground. And I believe that it benefits everyone to have women in the workplace.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I really appreciate you bringing those points up. Very important to remember. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Last question. Tell us about your first job.
Oh, yes. My first job actually was in retail sales. I worked for a small shop in Miami, Florida, actually in Coconut Grove. And it was owned by a woman who was a small business owner, and she had a wonderful shop full of jewelry and crafts and whatnot. And it was really wonderful to see her develop her business over time. I worked there for about 3 years. And also for me to really hone my skills as a young salesperson. To try and, quickly build rapport with people, make people feel comfortable, understand what their needs were, do sort of a consultation with them to find out what they were looking for. And they're skills that really have carried forward with me throughout my career, whether I'm working in a corporate setting or working with small business owners.
It's amazing to me, I asked this question of a lot of the guests, and it's amazing to see the correlation between that very first job and what they're doing now. There are always some parallels. Now, once in a while, we have somebody that had a really terrible first job experience that tells them this is not where I want to be, so they sort somewhere else. But there's a lot of correlation between the first and the current. And so
absolutely. I don't know if you can hear my cat. My cat just came in and is saying hello to all your viewers.
No, that's all right. I didn't hear anything, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all know the circumstances. We're all working from home.
Absolutely.
So Mira, thank you so much for being on the podcast. How can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple of different websites, but the best way to reach me is through an email. The name of the business is Proximity, and the email is hello@proximity.com. proximityinc.co. So that's .co. So hello@proximityinc.co.
Very good. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. Again, that's teamengagementpodcast.com. And we encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.